is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 175. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Show, and we call him E, a.k.a. Laib James, a.k.a. Sebastian Driussi, a.k.a. Easterdamus, a.k.a. Pav E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Joey Chestnut, a.k.a. Eon Stonkel. E. Sitting here Thursday afternoon, Austin, Texas. Grabbed a point, little Easterdamus point there on the road against LAFC. So not all doom and gloom today. How you feeling?
Oh, we're back in business, baby. We get to fight another day, get to be hopeful another day. I am, not getting tired of supporting this team and believing in this team and finding ways to believe in this club. And I'm just excited to get into this LAFC matchup, a game that I thought was one of our more impressive moments in regards to the emotional letdown we were experiencing and the bounce back that we saw from the guys who continue to fight and continue to push. And that's something that I'll always respect and look at and be like, yeah, I can get behind that, So yeah. I'm excited to get into it. It was a big fucking point. I thought we probably should have got 3. Yeah. But still, we'll take that point. We got a couple nice results on the other end of that, other end of that spectrum there. So looking forward to Houston as well. And, find a way to pull me back in, y'all. Like, just
it only takes a little bit,
just
right?
Pulled right back in. We're here. The lifeline has been extended, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to talk because a lot of takeaways I think from last night, and again, like you need the win, but nobody really, I know you predicted the 1-1 draw there, but I still think at least a slightly surprising result for the majority of Austin FC fans last night. And again, very short-handed Austin team, but we'll get into the LAFC match. We've got to preview that Houston match coming up about 48 hours from now, a little last business day, and some news items to touch on first here in a moment. But I just want to take this second to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube that the best way to support the show is by downloading the audio version of this episode wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can toggle on that auto download switch wherever you get your podcasts, continue to support the show and not have to think about it further. If you want to go the extra mile, you can rate, review, and subscribe to the pod wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel. That also helps us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the everlasting hope of the North End. You talk about hope, you talk about surprises here in mid-September. We've got a transfer rumor, and no, it's not who's going out, who's looking for a new team from Austin FC. It is that Rodolfo Borrell and his scouting network are going to work down in South America, because yesterday on Thursday, we saw a tweet come across from, I believe, Bruno Oliveira. And Oliveira is a Brazilian journalist, and his tweet reads like this: Austin FC is in advanced negotiations for 23-year-old midfielder Hércules from Fortaleza EC. That club, of course, in Brazil. That club, of course, home to our former designated player, Tomás Pochettino. So teammates, Pochettino and Hércules, which that is quite a name for a soccer player, for any athlete. But I would love to have a player named Hércules on our team. Sources confirm that Austin intend to sign the player as soon as possible to be a reinforcement in the 2025 season. An Arab club also showed interest in Hércules. So as we talk about this player here, as we like to do on YouTube, let's pull up some of the highlights here from Hércules. Again, about 5'8", I believe, central midfielder. Looks like he can play as an attacking or a defensive mid. 23 years old. Transfer market value, again, for players that we just have no idea about them. That's a decent way to see how at least that transfer market community views the player. Transfer market value of $3 million. So a little less than half of a player like Osman Bukhari. This reads to me like a player who would probably be TAM level in terms of his contract. I do know that it was reported in a separate article that there is a $10 million release clause for Hércules, which apparently does not mean that that is the price set in stone for a transfer. That is the minimum price where Fortaleza could not deny a sale of the player. So a team can come in and negotiate a lower price, or if Fortaleza thinks that, you know, they're not going to get $10 million for a player like Hércules in a transfer, you know, they can set that price lower. Again, not a big time goal scorer, but I believe 16 goals and 7 assists in 146 career professional matches. He is a Brazilian national. So again, this is doesn't profile as a designated player type guy to me, but in that article that, again, translated from Portuguese, so not always the perfect translation, maybe a little bit broken there. But I did want to read this passage before I toss it to you for some thoughts. It says that Austin FC wants to streamline the agreement to avoid competition from other clubs between December and January, when the movements in the market are more intense, and ensure the presence of Hércules for 2025. The players' staff understands that the trip to a rising and observed league by Europeans can be a good step in the career. So again, this also seems like maybe a player who could be here for a couple years, looking for, you know, improvement, a lot of eyes on him here in Austin, and then maybe a sale overseas, which again, that is the way that some of the best clubs in this league do their business. So on paper, to me, this is a very encouraging report, even if this kid doesn't end up showing up in Austin in the winter, just because you can see Roto, similar to the summer window, trying to get business done early.
And the thing that's most encouraging to me, because obviously these rumors come across our desk at the North End podcast offices, and we have to talk on all of them. But like the thing that seems most encouraging, it was advanced negotiations, not advanced talks or you know, anything that's more of rumor and speculation. And then you also threw in there that we're trying to get this deal done, sealed, signed, delivered, get him here, have him ready for 2025 season. And as I have been, you know, operating the entire time, trusting Roto and his staff and his scouts. So the most encouraging thing to me is seeing the fact that we are in these advanced kind of negotiations to bring him in here. And I'm all for it. Like you said, a fantastic name, obviously something that profiles where it's like, we're the oldest team in the league. You bring in a 23, 24-year-old. That's something we want to see. You're looking at the highlights here if you're watching on YouTube, and you're going to see a little bit of the athleticism, the willingness to get out and run. So if that's something that we can add to the arsenal, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and you mentioned advanced negotiations. It sounds like the two clubs are talking numbers here, talking turkey, right? So it's something to keep our eye on. I think it would be, again, not saying that this player is going to come in and be some sort of like MVP candidate, but youth movement, right? A player with a ceiling that is yet to be realized. And again, you meant, our average age is like 28.4 or something like that, oldest in the league. And so bringing in a guy that's 4 or 5 years younger, again, helps in that manner as well. So just kind of some midweek excitement here.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of increasing the standing of a club. If you can get somebody in here and then sell him off a little later, that is a big selling point when you're trying to attract this younger talent from around the world. So I'm all for, very excited about the fact that we have some sort of you know, plan in place where it's like we're trying to get him in here, get him some development as well, get some more eyes on him, and maybe be selling him down the road. But I'm ready for whatever Roto has cooked up moving into 2025.
For sure. Just to correct those numbers for Hércules down there in Brazil, 141 professional appearances, 16 goals, 8 assists. And again, according to transfer market, which is not always accurate with these numbers, but this says that he has played 29 games in central midfield, 27 games in the defensive midfield, 6 as an attacking mid, 4 as a right mid or a right wing, and 2 as a left mid. So again, he seems to be a little bit malleable in that midfield, but mostly in the central of the park, whether, attacking or in the defensive third.
Absolutely. And I've only seen the couple pictures of him from this video you've been showing here, and he looks like a pretty stout, he's got a bit of a body. He's got some muscle on him there. So that's great.
It's definitely a little taller than the Punisher there. So again, and like speaking of the Punisher, right, it profiles too as like a Punisher replacement, maybe Alex Ring. Again, not necessarily Ring replacement, but if Ring's coming back, it's on a cheaper contract. It's maybe in a reduced role, just given where he's at in his career. So again, this is exactly where we know we need upgrades in that midfield next year with who we think is on the way out. So again, we'll keep our eyes on that. Another piece of news, just real quick, roster profiles for the fall were released. And the only thing we really gleaned from the Austin roster profile that was posted was that at least in this second half of the season, we are not using any targeted allocation money on Mikkel Dessler or on Alexander Svatok. So to me, that just gives more credence to the theory that us and others had that the 2-4 GAM route that Roto took after the summer window was to help buy down not just Alex Ring from his DP tag to make the 2-4 work, but use some of that additional GAM to buy down that Svatok transfer fee, which was reported as 1.2 million. And we know from our buddy Long's work, reading that CBA, reading the roster rules and regulations, that a team can buy down with allocation money 100% of that transfer fee. So again, it's good signs going forward.
Good business.
Yeah, there you go. It's good business.
So, and just for myself and others who might be wondering, next year we get to reassign what that designation is, right? So you see you see a little bit of what took place here, understanding where we're at in the table, understanding the type of team that we are. If we make playoffs, fantastic. If we do make playoffs, having some sort of miraculous run seems like a very off chance. So now being able to get these guys in, Svatok, not have to pay him TAM, have that allocated and everything like that, you set yourself up better for next season.
Yeah. And so again, the roster path, that like the roster construction decision, right? The 3-3 or the 2-4 GAM, that will be reset at the beginning of the year. And going forward, there won't be those mid-season changes, right? Because that was a new rule in the summer. So we can't change our mind after we set that path at the beginning of each year. Let's talk about the match from last night. Out there in Los Angeles, lineup comes out, right? Like we got the Tuesday news that Matt Hedges was highly questionable. Couple hours later, official injury report comes out. He will be sidelined along with the 3 suspended players, Driussi, Heinzike, and Valencia. So we know a little bit shorthanded compared to what we have seen over the last month plus. But we have that depth now. So when the lineup comes out, I think the biggest question was who fills the 2 center back slots, right? Because both of the center backs, Hedges and Heinzike, that's been the center back pairing for a good bit now. So when that lineup does drop, we get a starting 11 of Stuver, Dessler, Cascante. Alexander Svatok makes his Austin FC debut. Guilherme Biru on that back line. Ring, Pereira, Bukhari, Galley, Obi, and Diego Rubio rounded out the starting 11. A bench of Zardis, Väisänen, Kolmanich, so Leo and John on that bench. CJ Fodre made the trip with the first team. Stefan Cleveland, Hector Jimenez, Owen Wolf, and Ethan Finley. And so this lineup was submitted and, of course, then presented on the broadcast as a 4-4-2. But, Austin, as we've seen them do in the past, especially when they're shorthanded, really changing formation between the offensive and defensive side of the ball. When we were on defense, you saw John Gallagher, and this guy just had a baby a week ago, not sleeping at all. He's on the road to Toronto. He's playing off the bench. He comes out there last night, and of course they've got him running up between left wing on offense, left wing back on defense, and that 5 back. So that made Guilherme Biru on D that left center back, Julio in the middle, Svatak to his right, and then Dessler out there at right wing back. And then up front, it was, again, like, it was a little bit amoeba-like to me, because I think in the structure, if everything's just set up like a chessboard, right, to start a game, Diego Rubio is playing up top there. It's a lot of checking back from Diego into that midfield and starting some very dangerous counterattacks.
Yeah.
But you also had Hodder up there. And you mentioned, I know you were kind of in and out of that game where you're at, not a ton of great Wi-Fi. But Buka was also kind of in more different spots than we've seen to this point of his short tenure with the team.
Absolutely. And like, this is one of the things that I was definitely keeping my eye out on, how we were going to adjust for being without our 10 here. Despite his recent struggles, however you feel about those things, we still have to find some sort of way to make up for the production that he brings to the field. And one of the things that we were chatting about before we jumped on here was the fact that we had both never seen Buka have so much freedom, have so much space, moving around into different parts of the pitch, being able to receive the ball and really ignite us. I thought what you talked about with Diego there was great. His ability to like flick on, get somebody going, ignite kind of our counterattack going forward was wonderful. And like, look, man, you know, throughout the course of our podcast here, our fandom with Austin FC, this Cherundolo versus Wolf matchup has been heavily favored towards Cherundolo, but Cherundolo was outcoached last night by Coach Wolf. To go into LAFC without your best player, both of your starting center backs missing from the continuity that we have going forward, and to salvage a point in a game that not even salvage, but to earn, that was an earned point. It wasn't sort of one where we just kind of got out by the skin of our teeth. We earned that point and like potentially had 3 available to us. Absolutely fantastic coaching by the staff up and down. So I want to get that out of the way and just let people know that, like, you know, this was something that I was looking at and understood now, once you see this result, that it was the right move. You made the right call. You put the players in the right position to succeed, and you got the result at the end that we desperately needed. You know, and talk about like disappointments that we had versus Vancouver, versus Toronto. This type of momentum that you can build off of getting a point off of an LAFC club in their home turf is much more significant in terms of the emotional kind of feeling, the confidence, how it's looking in the locker room going forward, than it is to drop some of those games like that. Because when we look at it from a standpoint of like the talent, how this club has looked going forward, like Vancouver, Toronto, we're much closer to them than we are to LAFC. So for sure. To me, it's like this was a matchup that hopefully can propel us forward. But I hope everyone, who was participating in this, the players, the coaching staff, all around, are pretty proud of this point. And like, this is something we would have been celebrating a lot and mightily if it had come earlier in the season. But at this point where it's like, damn, this window is really closing for this Austin team, it's a little bit tempered in regard to how you can react to this game. But fuck, it was a big point, man.
Yeah. And I think that's where I wanted to push back on some of your vocabulary there, where it's like, I totally agree that result in a vacuum is it's not a win on paper, but again, we exceeded all of, I think, our fan expectations. You exceeded all third-party expectations with who was being run out there. And I do agree. Like, I do think we can give the coaching staff credit for a well-coached game, while also saying that I think what I wanted to push back on was the necessary result. The necessary result at this point is 3 fucking points. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No matter who we're playing, no matter who's available, no matter where the game is. So I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time here when we're looking at, what this team needs to do to just reach fucking 9th place, while also saying that it was a good result in a vacuum. Because you look across the ball, right? LAFC did not have Christian Oliveira last night. So when they don't have Kike, like, we'll take that. But and they rotate out Campos and Tillman. Tillman's been in and out of the starting group, but Ilie Sanchez comes off the bench, right? You've still got, right, Long and Chanot and Hollingshead and Atuesta and Bogusz, and they're starting Giroud up front. And, of course, Denny Bouanga, who gives us absolute fits.
Yep.
Let's Go ahead.
This look like if this team like, obviously after the Toronto loss, speculation and everything is flying regarding to if this team is dead, if we're done in the water. This was the game to lay down and die if you wanted to do that, because you had these two disappointing matchups where 3 points were available to you versus Vancouver versus Toronto. Nobody's expecting you to get any sort of result versus LAFC. If you had given up on the season, this was the game to do it, because nobody would have been overly upset about it because you lost to a vastly superior team. So that's really where I'm coming from, was that like we are continuing this fight. We're still going for it. We're still
the guys are battling.
Yes, we're still in the heat of it. And on top of that, you have the built-in excuse of, well, Seba's not playing. Like our best player is not going to be out there. So that even compounds what I'm trying to express here in regard to how this was the game to die if you were going to let this season absolutely die. And we've talked about pathways to getting to the playoffs, and you've brought up several times, win your home games, and maybe you can find a point somewhere here on the road. You've banked this point now, and if you can take care of business at home, you're cooking. So a lot has to go right. Of course, a lot has to go right. We have to keep going forward and everything like that. But that pathway has not been shut. That road it's not closed.
I don't know what we're cooking with in that scenario, but the stove is still on. Like it could be shut off by this point. To your point. So let's talk about some of the minutes here. And really to start, frustration building and that Rubio dark magic also coming out. Second minute, fucking Segura runs through Osman's back on a break here. I understand it's the second minute. I understand it's, a relatively clean slate for everybody, but a yellow card is a yellow card, man. When you're stopping a break, when we're 3-on-3 and a guy's running through our back, it's a yellow card. And 5 minutes later, Segura again takes out Obrian. And here's where Diego first, working the ref. Alex Ring also coming in with that armband and letting Alan Chapman, the head official, know about it. 13th minute, Svatak. Weird giveaway. I would almost say that his first 20-ish minutes, he looked a little bit stiff to me, a little bit nervy.
Makes sense.
But I thought he settled in really well. Ultimately, I think, and I can just get this out of the way, I think he's our starter going forward. I was very impressed in his full 90-minute performance. But here, it's like a weird step, and Denny Bouanga's pressing him. So Bouanga just takes it off of him. He takes off, and I thought Biru here did a good job to cut out the Bouanga attempt pass towards Giroud as they entered the box. And then off that, we cut it out. Austin gets a chance going the other way. It's a very well-worked counter chance here. And ultimately, Bukhari crosses in towards Dessler. Obrian takes a knock. He goes down in the middle of the box. He's calling for a pin. There wasn't much in that. And then Hollingshead gets in front of Dessler before he can get any sort of clear opportunity. But again, guys were covering for each other. There was connectivity in the midfield, which again, until the last month or so, we have not seen a lot of. And so ultimately, I think we're seeing more of the positive undertones from this team, even though the necessary results are not coming. I still maintain that Vancouver match is the only egg that's been laid since the new guys took the pitch.
That's totally fair, and I really thought Dessler was getting on the board here. This was a great build-up, a great ball to him, and a good defensive play by Hollingshead, who, you look at the FOTMob ratings, he was the top-rated player for the game.
Well, they gave him man of the match on FOTMob.
Yeah.
15th minute, hard foul from Matty Bogusz on Danny, and I don't know how there's not a yellow card yet. It's very imbalanced here with the hard fouls, and even the announcing team, who I thought they had some issues last night. We can talk about that in a little bit. They even are saying, yeah, that's a yellow card in most situations. 25th minute, loose ball here falls to Olivier Giroud, left of net at the top of the box. And I just wanted to mention, he immediately curls a shot towards that far post. And Brad Stuver, I think this save alone is why he got put on the team of the match day this morning. It was another good game from Brad.
Yep, another good game from Brad. He has been just the ultimate professional throughout the entire course of the season. Obviously, you're going to have your ups and downs and everything like that, but he shows up every single fucking night. This was a huge, underrated save because it's not one of those absolutely glorious kind of moments where it's like, oh, Brad just saved our lives, but he really did.
It was damn close. Yeah.
It was, he really did.
It was a very good save. 29th minute. Osman earns a corner, and then that corner ends up being cleared out towards the top of the 18, and it falls to Gallagher, and he chests it down to himself for a toe poke, and that tails off just above that left corner of the frame. 2 minutes later, you do get a yellow card, of course, to Austin Diego Rubio. I'm not arguing the yellow here, tactical foul taking Duenas down, but the fact that we got, and I saw a couple posts on socials during the match saying, I'm just ready to, I think it was our buddy Lobar who was like, I'm just ready to rage when Austin gets the first yellow card in this match. And there it was. 37th minute. There's an LAFC corner. Sees a strong chance for Hollingshead to head one on frame, but he didn't get a ton on it, and Stuver gobbles it up. But then, like, you see the replay, especially from behind the net, because Aaron Long stayed down and Austin had gone off on a corner. You see that replay? Danny two-hand shoved Aaron Long right to the ground. He may have sold it a little bit, but it was enough of a shove where if the roles were reversed, I would be bitching and moaning today that we didn't get a penalty called there. So I think we got away with one.
And also, I think if the roles were reversed in regard to which player was being pushed, you would have probably gotten one. Obviously, Danny much, much smaller than Aaron Long here. You two hands in the back. Ref's going to let that go. I think, even with the kind of disparity with the yellow cards there, it didn't seem like this ref wanted to interject himself into the game, particularly early, which is a great kind of motto to have if you're a ref. But if these fouls are actually taking place, this is your job, buddy. Like, you have to go ahead and police this. And I'm glad we got away with it.
I was fine with them on the night, really.
Yeah, overall, for sure.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think I would rather have officials officiate that way and kind of let the guys, figure things out. But again, it's like there's some fouls that are just like, okay, like that's a caution.
Yeah.
44th minute. Two chances for Austin here, both coming from John Gallagher, crosses into the area. The first one, he's trying to find Diego Rubio, can't quite get it to him. Again, LA's defense, one of, if not the best in MLS. But we recycle it back around to John, and he whips the second one towards that back post on the right, wide open Mikkel Dessler, and he heads it right into the side netting. We know from when we first had Dessler announced as a signing, going through all his stats, his highlights, he's not a goal scorer. Yep. Still, this is one you at least got to put on frame, and I know he wants that one back.
This is definitely one where if you're a professional soccer player and this is what you do for a living, you can score this. Me or you out there, we would have obviously botched it, but
I'll put it into the side. I can do that though.
This was an opportunity, but still the undertones of the game were all positive for Austin. Moving forward, the chances being created, like you do have, and you're going to concede good chances to an LAFC team. Like it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what
the team that leads in XG, the team that leads in XG conceded, right?
Yes.
We're the best team on both sides of the ball.
Yep. And shots on target per game as well, right? They're number one as well in that. And so it's like, this was still super, super positive to me. And you get this sweet little reward right here before half.
Yeah. And right before the reward, first minute of stoppage, yellow card to Segura for taking out Rubio on a challenge in the air. And the ref shows him 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. Like, okay, Alan Chapman, is that how many yellow cards he should have? Probably.
Yeah.
Like, there's one. And then off the restart here, we get it to Dessler. He plays Osman through down that right sideline. Buka just cuts, little spin move, bodies Aaron Long off the ball there, or just away from him, opens up space, charges into the area, picks out Obi in the middle of the box. And I think that pass slightly behind Hader, and Obi can't really one-time it, but he's able to settle himself and then sneak it in there past Hugo Lloris for the opening goal. Literally, I texted the group chat, right? I was like, I'm literally standing up from my seat to go pee at halftime, and this goal's going in the back of the net. I was like, I was totally ready for the half, and somewhat satisfied with 0-0 at the half on the road to LAFC. But now we're feeling great, and now I've got. It's not a delusion of a victory here because we were very much in this game. But now I'm starting to think it's like Minnesota, because right before the game we kicked off, Minnesota freaking lost, and as our game's going on, Dallas is losing. So I'm like, we really got an opportunity here headed into that. And Hader, now stands alone as the team's leading goal scorer. So again, another pat on the back to Rodolfo Borrell for picking this man up in the re-entry draft last year.
Fantastic job by Hot Air. Let's start with the ball from Dessler. Like, it's going to be underrated here, but the curve he kind of puts on that gives that space to Hot Air, or excuse me, to Buka to beat Long here. Buka's ability to stay upright is absolutely like stunning to me. Like, he's on a balance beam at times, and he's able to just kind of keep moving forward and progressing at a rate that you can't really even like pick up on the camera because he's still moving so fast. I'm shitting my pants when Hot Air gets this ball because it's like this in all practice should be a one-time shot off of his right foot that just beats Hugo Lloris, but he has to settle a little bit. And I'm just like, oh man, you're giving them time to recover. Like, please fucking fire this thing. You see a body kind of dive in front, which might have blocked Lloris's vision there. I'm not sure who it was, but snuck it past him. And dude, feeling it absolutely incredible.
Coming out of the half, no changes for either side. And here in the 47th minute, sudden Austin breakaway, little ball put over the top by Julio, who is really just clearing it out by my eyes. But it falls to Diego Rubio, and we've got a 3-on-2.5, I'll say here. But Diego's got a couple chances with decent angles to play Osman through here, and he just can't feed him. So again, I thought Diego could have done better there, because this is not the only chance we have here to start the half to make it 2-0, but you can almost put this game away. Not totally with a team like LAFC on the other side, but 2 would have gotten it done last night. 49th minute, you get a yellow card to Atuesta for taking out Bukhari. And 2 minutes later, you have Stuver save off a breakaway goal kick. Again, we've been burned by that in the past. Bogusz had tried him from outside the box here, so it wasn't really that tough for Brad. But on the next possession, Bukhari gets free after nice little network of passes there near the back from Austin. He steps up John Gallagher kind of in the middle of the box, probably 16 yards out. And it is right to Hugo Lloris. And there's power on it. Lloris saves it, but he has to pop it up in the air to himself.
Great rip. It was a great rip.
Yeah.
It just happened to go right at Lloris there, and he's going to handle that, as is our most keepers in this league. But it was a really great rip by Johnny.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot.
It's again, up and down all night, depending on who's got the ball. But I did want to note off that. So Lloris gobbles that up and he throws it out to Bouanga. And again, this is where I think a collective clench from the Verde faithful when that happens. Freakus Fatak just steps up to him, literally 2-hand shoves him off the ball, takes it back. And again, it was a shove that I don't think it was a foul. He does it really, really well. And we just have not really had any guys that have the ability to make Dennis Bouanga look a little bit mortal. And that was a very exciting, very small, but to me, very exciting point of Svatak's 90 minutes last night. And again, I thought he got stronger as the game went on.
I was just going to say our ability to corral not only Bouanga, but Bogusz as well the entire night was super, super impressive. And I was going to interject earlier when you brought up Svatak and his overall work for the 90-minute period, and just say that it was to be expected that he was going to have a little jitters here to start this game. He hasn't played in a very, very long time. He's thrust into this moment here, but he found himself and he knew who he was, and he was able to find himself and make an impact on this game. So absolutely credit to him. He's got more going on than anybody in this league right now in regard to what he's dealing with outside of soccer. So for him to be locked in was beautiful.
60th minute here, you get the first changes for Austin. Jussi Zardes and Leo Väisänen come in for Diego Rubio and Mikkel Dessler, which moved John Gallagher to right wing back. Leo slot in at left center back, pushing Biru out to left wing back. And we find out post game that Mikkel Dessler had an ankle injury, and that's the reason he came off. But 2 minutes later, the second LAFC possession rather, after the substitutes are made. First of all, Julio Cascante gets caught out of position here, by my eyes, pressing Olivier Giroud 45 yards from net. It just doesn't seem like that's what we've been doing consistently. So I think he was out of position there. Giroud flicks it right past him. The LAFC break is on. They get it out wide to Ryan Hollingshead, and he finds David Martinez, who had subbed in just prior to the Austin substitutions. And Martinez, the young Venezuelan, taps it in. And, man, it sure looks like Leo Väisänen did, I'll say, poorly here. And again, I think that doesn't look great on a guy who's been left off the team sheet, who is the 5th center back on this depth chart currently. Again, it doesn't look good for Julio Cascante either, who's been essentially the 3rd or 4th center back. But I also think, again, we talked about how we thought it was a good performance from the coaching staff, setting the team up to be successful. And you saw a lot, and going back to the announcers, I'll talk about the announcers first.
Yeah.
First of all, like, we're spending, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes just completely glazing the Austin franchise, like Coach Wolf and Rodo and Precourt, and the fans should have patience. And while, like, again, like, we have had plenty of patience here in the North End, I know there's a large number of Austin fans that don't want to hear that shit. And,
oh yeah, I mean, we've done nothing.
We're doing that, but we're also not able to notice as an announcing team that Austin has been in a fucking 5-back the entire game. Dude, if my dumbass can see that shit in the 5th minute and you guys don't know it by the 62nd, I just don't get it. And then of course there's plenty of fans who are just, you're not watching the game and like being nerdy like me and trying to pick out the fucking formations and learn about, the intricacies of soccer, just watching the fucking game. And so again, the announcers don't help that. The reaction is very much like, oh, here's Josh Wolf galaxy braining this change. And again, just if you missed it, they did not change the formation. They had to move some guys around, but the sub, at least Dessler, was made because he was injured, and we find that out after the match. So, again, I would still very much like the guys who have been our starting center backs in a Julio Cascante, a guy that we paid a lot of money for and brought in to be our number 1 center back 2 years ago in Leo, to do better here. And again, and I'm also not trying to say it's a good look that you get scored on right after you sub, but just trying to add that context, because that was very much what happened. And I could not believe that the announcers, who, again, I will shout out the announcers, because near the end, Max Bretos gives Moontower a shout out, which was fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can we do our jobs first? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Can we actually call the game properly? Man, I don't know what's up with Leo. I don't know what to make of it. He clearly does not have the confidence right now to do his job to his fullest ability. And this was on display right here. You have the compounded mistake initially with Julio, who has been known to do these kind of things where he is out of position. He is chasing after something that he doesn't need to be chasing after. But Leo's inability to mark this kid's he's a teenager, right? This Martinez kid.
David Martinez is going to be a name.
But like,
I don't care. I don't care who it is.
I don't even know
it's
where
the wrong positioning.
He's running almost directly into Stuver.
Yes.
Like, he is just running it to the back of the net. It's like when you lose control of your player on FIFA and you find yourself running in the back of the net.
The fucking batteries are dead.
Yes. Like, it was a ridiculously bad play and a horrible look for him, because like you said, he has fallen to the bottom of the depth chart here.
At some point, you got to stop dropping and you got to mark somebody.
Exactly. There was very limited bodies to be marked. We actually had more numbers in this box right here, and like, this was a chance to very frustrating. And like, I'm not going to give up on Leo by any stretch of it, but like, fuck, man, you have to be better in this moment.
And it was an opportunity to maybe make a case to climb up that depth chart last night. Sure. And I just don't, Hedges, I think, is going to miss on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopefully nobody else gets injured or suspended. If we have the good fortune to stay healthy with the rest of these 4 center backs, I have a hard time seeing Leo play again this season.
I mean, the only reason he's on the team is because those guys were hurt. Yeah, like he wouldn't be on the team.
Making the bench.
He would not make the team.
70th minute, Owen comes in for Hodder Obrian.
Nice.
Fucking need him. Yeah, and again, that's got some depth now.
That's what we want from Owen, to be able to come in and to be able to shift our formation and whatever strategy we're going to play out of. This is what we want to see from Owen.
2 minutes later, Osman works a little bit of that magic on Ryan Hollingshead to get into the LAFC penalty area on the end line. He pops across towards a wide open Guilherme, and Biru tries to volley it out of the air. And he does okay with this. It sends it just wide right of goal. But I thought he was going to just bang that into the back of the net. And again, you see Osman, I believe, led the game in terms of expected assists last night. So that type of creation, again, is what you were talking about on Monday's episode, in that we want to continue to see out of him. Hopefully some of these guys can start finishing those. Again, he had the assist in the first half, right?
Yep.
But there's going to be a game, whether it's down the stretch of this season or at some point next season, where Osman is going to contribute to 3 or 4 fucking goals in one game. He's that good.
Yeah, you're going to get dunk opportunities when he's delivering the ball. And this is a dunk opportunity here for Guilherme. And look, man, there's in regard to our fullbacks, our defensive players, this is the number one guy I want with this opportunity and chance here. And, it was a great play. And sometimes they just don't go in.
76-minute double change for LA. Tillman and Campos come in for Giroud and Palencia. Next minute, Osman breakaway off a nice ball by Alex. Again, these guys, when they get possession, they're peeking their heads up and looking where number 7 is. So opens some space for him. And then Buka, little juke towards the middle, opens some space for himself to get a shot off, but kicks it out for a goal kick. And you can see the frustration on his face after that play. He wanted that one back.
Yep. He could have done better with it for sure.
Well, right off the restart, he gets a loose ball 35 yards from net. He tries to catch Lloris off his line, and the Frenchman backpedals and is able to nab it out of the air. But I like that type of thing. We haven't really had guys that try that. And speaking of guys, chipping the keeper from midfield, fucking RSL did it again yesterday to Dallas. Anderson Julio got Martin Pass.
Good.
82nd minute. You get CJ in for Danny, moving Owen to central midfield. So you get CJ out there on the left, and Ethan Finley comes in for Osman. So Finley on the right. On the other side, Kamara comes in for Atuesta. 85th minute, yellow card to Tillman for taking down Biru after some nifty Guilherme footwork there. And in the next minute, CJ wins a corner for the team. And then off that corner, Leo, very, very close to getting his head to it, but Lloris able to clear it out, and he throws it to Bouanga again, collective clench. And Owen Wolf, man, this fantastic slide wins it right back from Bouanga, and then wins a free kick with Bouanga and another defender on his back. And on that free kick, good ball in from Ring, but nobody home where that ball falls near that back post. But this Owen Wolf run of form right now is pretty darn good.
Absolutely. You have that goal earlier versus Toronto, which was one of the best goals of the season. You have this fantastic defensive play here, and it just shows the versatility of the kid.
88th minute, the last note here, you get a yellow card to CJ, blocking a restart. It was very Next Pro-esque where they just booted it right into him, but
it's a thing now. It's a thing now, apparently.
So 1-1 draw at the end of the night, just 39% possession for Austin, but 13 shots to 10 in favor of LA. On target was 6-2 in favor of the home team. 5 corners to 3 for LA, but 2 big chances created for Austin. 1 missed. LA created only 1 big chance. Looking at FOTMob's XG model, 0.67 for Austin, 0.83 for LAFC. Expected goals on target, not as rosy, 0.39 for Austin, 1.4 for LAFC, which again sounds relatively accurate to me. But this was a game, again, in a vacuum, the 1 point is good. The necessary result for every game here on out, mathematically is not 3, but for your chances, it essentially is. Again, I'm pretty pleased with how this went, even though it's not taking full advantage of the opportunity we had in the table last night based on the other results from Minnesota and Dallas. But I also think, it is pretty wild given how poor or average at best this team has been this year, that we are undefeated against Los Angeles in league play, right? Fucking 5 points off the Galaxy, and LA 1 win, 2 draws, no losses. Again, like that'll stand at least for another 2 weeks till we see the Galaxy at their place. But yeah, we'll take it, man. Like if you told me at the beginning of the season we would not lose to LA in these 2 games, I would be surprised, and I am.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just damn proud of these guys. Like I said before, that's the thing I've really been hanging on. This was the game to lay down and die if you were done. Nobody would have blamed you. You would have been able to just coast for the rest of the season, but they did not do that. They got a very, very well-earned and deserved point in one of the most difficult places to play in MLS, and I hope that they're able to use this game as fuel going forward.
Anything else for you on this LA match?
Yes, one thing. You saw the expected goals on target, and the reason we got a point here is because our keeper is better than LAFC's keeper.
Yeah, 100%. Of course, we talked about the post-match press conference last night. The things that I took away from it: Dessler injury, Matt Hedges doubtful at best for Saturday, and then a little bit entertained by how that press conference ended there. So, of course, you can catch that on the club site. What I do want to talk about now, is what our fucking $6 million man was doing on social media during the match. So this is a screen captured tweet by, MLS pundit Matt Doyle. And this was what Sebastian Driussi was doing during the second half last night, retweeting fans, basically talking shit about him. And there's a lot of different directions you can go with this conversation, right? Number one, and what a lot of fans, I think, rightfully point to, is Driussi in an interview earlier this year saying he missed the criticism sometimes that he got back in Argentina. And when you put that into the context of what he was doing last night, it's like, all right, man, you come off a little bit soft there because like you kind of asked for it. And I guess the most important thing to me when I see this happening is, man, you're doing this instead of watching your teammates on TV while the game's on. It's a distraction at best. And again, clearly your mind is not where I think, again, as a fan, where I think it should be. So what were your thoughts on these? And again, these retweets apparently were taken down sometime in the wee hours of the morning. He also did post a Instagram story, just, looking a little perturbed, upset, emo, I don't fucking know, but like with like the a Bad Bunny song, I think, which was basically, I think the lyrics, something like, I don't care if you like me, I'm gonna be me. It's like, man, it comes off as soft, and ultimately it's not a good thing as a teammate to be doing this, and that's where I'm most worried about it. What were your thoughts on this?
It's social media. You got a bunch of bloviators on there expressing their charged emotions and takes while watching this game, their favorite team play and everything. And you just don't need to pay these people any sort of mind, particularly if you are going to embrace that Bad Bunny lifestyle of like, I don't care if you don't like me
right?
or not.
Clearly
like,
you do.
You just need to embrace that. You don't need to retweet these things to kind of try to show that you don't. It's a bad look. It's a really bad look, but it's not something where I'm overly concerned about it. It's going to get blown out of proportion because anytime somebody sees some shit like this, they want to be the first one to bring it up and talk about it and be like, what's going on here? I think it's going to be overblown. You have Josh kind of talk about it a little bit, what probably wasn't aware of what was going on because, like, obviously he's focused on the match here and not this and Seba's fucking timeline. It's a bad look for 10. But I hope that he was tweeting these and looking at what people were saying and is using that for some fuel to come back with a bit of a vengeance here. That's how I'm looking at it. That's the only thing, sort of thing that's positive for me going forward with this, because now it is over. Everything's been taken down, yada, yada, yada. You have to respond. So I have my faith in him that he's going to be able to respond as somebody who has made some incredibly poor judgment things on social media. I can give him a bypass because I hope some people can give me a pass as well. So I'm past it. I'm over it. I saw it last night. fuck it. I'm not worried about it. We have bigger fish to fry in regard to making the playoffs.
There's two things before we move on. First, to me, like one thing that also stood out is that it's not like he just saw one tweet thread and reposted. Like he's reposting somebody who replied to We Are Austin TV, somebody who replied to Eric Goodman, right? It's like he's either like searching his name or he's going to every outlet possible looking for shit to do. And again, like maybe he's trying to fuel himself. And there's one way to get us all past this, and it's a big performance against Houston on Saturday. And again, it's I don't think it's just a one game thing, but you got to start with Saturday. Because again, I don't think the team or the coaching staff, anybody involved, we don't have the buffer in the standings to do this. But you talk about having the depth to bench somebody. Like this is something that could, depending on the coach, come to that. I don't think we see that. But again, it's just something that I think about.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you, man. Just you have a great game versus Houston. These tweets go away. Like, you know, you have removed the air from that fire. So I hope he's able to do that and respond properly.
Well, speaking of Houston, let's talk a little bit about the match this coming Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Central on Saturday at Q2 Stadium. The disgusting orange team to town, the third and final meeting between these two clubs this season. Of course, in the two prior meetings, one in Houston, one in Austin, the Verde and Black has taken all 6 available points, both by 1-0 scorelines, both from Emiliano Rigoni goal contribution. So again, if you want to twist the knife on these Houston fucks, you can remind them of that. I actually think Rigoni was not credited with the assist in the home match, but he put that corner into the box and Seba finished it off. So I will always remember that as Rigoni's last stand. That has brought the all-time record between these two clubs: 7 wins, 3 losses, no draws from the LAFC side of things. Of course, Austin continues to dominate first, most, and last. And look, you and I are always going to believe when there's still a non-zero number in that playoff probability percentage, right? You and I are still going to cheer as hard as we possibly can while there's still something to cheer for. But even if we do not make the playoffs, this is the one win out of the teams remaining that I have to have as a fan. I want to go into this offseason to continue through 4 years to be able to say the things about Houston that we do and just did. So again, looking at the Houston side, they've been in pretty good form. They do draw Vancouver at home last night, and Hector Herrera is out with a hamstring injury for at least 2 to 3 more weeks. So that is a boost to Austin in terms of who is missing for Houston. And again, they are also on a double game week here. So they're coming off home matches over the weekend. They beat RSL 4-1 at home. And then again, the 1-1 draw last night. So you get 70-plus minutes out of Coco Carrasquilla, out of Jordan Ayew, Franco Escobar, 83 out of their new DP striker, Ezequiel Ponce, who has been, again, I think 4 or 5 goals for him now. He's been killing it for us in the weekly bets. But I think we're going to see some rotation here from Houston as this is technically a Copa Tejas match, but we know that Dallas already has the cup for this season. So really just playoff implications on the line here outside of the typical rivalry. And again, I would be surprised if we see them run out what we would consider a full strength lineup just because of the congested schedule. And again, almost not a blessing in disguise, because if we had all of our guys last night, maybe we win. But you're getting a fresh Seba. You've had a week of rest for Heinzike. If you do need to rotate the Punisher into the midfield, we can do that with fresh legs. So again, Houston in this recent stretch, I believe they've won 4 of their last 7 league matches. They've got a draw in there as well. That draw was at home against LAFC. They also beat LAFC on the road 2-0 during this stretch. So there's as much shit as I like to talk about the Dynamo. They have been and are right now a better team than us. They're 10 points above us in the Western Conference standings. So, and I've already looked at the lines for Saturday. We are not favored in Las Vegas for this match. So you know what that means. You know we'll be putting some units on our favorite team. But this is still a challenging match, Hector Herrera or not.
I mean, you know, we had our little preview of the last 9 games when we had the Verde Pennant boys on here, and I said that this Dynamo team was a team that we were going to be unable to catch, because I do respect what they have out there and what they are able to roll out there, especially with Ponce now. I think that was something that really just shored up a lot of issues that they had. But let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Fuck Amin Bassi.
Your boy.
Fuck Coco Carrasquilla. Both of them. I hate both of them with a fiery passion. No, Ache is huge. We have dominated this series with the 7-3 here, and I think it's going to continue despite their nice run of form as of late. I hope you have an on fire, pissed off Seba out there ready to make his mark on this game. This Dynamo team is, as we have seen, incredibly beatable when they come to our place to play, and I'm fucking ready, because if you get 4 points here out of these last 2 games,
it's I mean, you know, you need Minnesota to get beat on the road by Sporting on Saturday to really start feeling like
totally
you're back
possible
in it. But I think more important for us is to focus on what we can control, and that's winning this game. You got 2 home matches in a row. RSL coming up next Saturday, right? So you win these 2 at home, 7 in the last 3. Now you're really, you know, you're
yep.
At least we're turning back on. We're like, okay, we got 3 matches left. How can we pull this off? And Steve Clark's coming to Q2. That's always a good sign for us. It's been Houston has not scored at Q2 Stadium in over 200 minutes. In the last 3 matches at Q2, it is a 7-1 aggregate. And again, 5 wins, no draws, no losses at Q2. I want to keep those 2 zeros in this fucking record. Talking about us, right? Doubtful, Matt Hedges. I think it's fair to say he's going to be out.
Yep.
Dessler, highly questionable. Yeah, coach did not sound like he was optimistic for his availability this weekend. But again, we've got guys that can fill in. Is John Gallagher able? Like, is this man going to fall out if we have him go 90 at right back again, taking on Jordan Aliu and his speed on that side? But I think that's probably your starter at right back, which means you probably have Hodder starting again at left wing, which again is not his best position, but he's been doing okay of late. You get 10 back in there. And then the center back pairing, if Hedges is still out, for me, it's Heinz Eich and Svatok.
I would love to see Heinz Eich and Svatok. I hope Heinz Eich is ready to go, ready to roll for this matchup here. I would actually be more surprised if they're heavily rotated. This matchup, it matters to them too. Like, this is not like we're seeing it from our side of the table here, where it's like we've dominated this. We need this fucking game. This game matters to them. So like, I'm going to be anticipating as choice of an 11 as they can roll out there, despite the Ache injury there. So it's going to be a good game. I just need to see our best players step up. Bring us to the land, the promised land. Vuka, Seba, bring us there. Yeah. We need you.
Well, you know, because Houston they have some pretty good firepower off the bench, right? Like, one of their DPs is their fucking backup striker now in Sebas Ferreira.
He sucks. He sucks.
He's good enough. He's far from the worst striker we've seen, but I'm saying you can get 60 minutes out of him, or even 45, and then bring a fresher Ponce in. They've got a Latif Blessing they could rotate in to their midfield, right? Daniel Steris on the back line can come in and start for an Escobar who just returned from injury in the last week. And please don't do it to us. Our son, Mackenzie Gaines, is a member of the Orange team, came into the game in the 79th minute last night. Don't do it to us, Mackenzie.
Please don't. For the love of God.
Anything else for you on this one, E? And if not, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday?
I'm going to keep pace with how this team has kept pace with this Houston Dynamo club and say a 1-0 win. Fuck this team. I hate them.
All right. 1-0 win for E. I'm going big here, man. And maybe I'm huffing the hopium, but I think we really open it up here at home with our guys back off suspension. Driussi, look, man, if what you need to do to get going is retweet a bunch of people talking shit about you. You score 2 goals. You run up to the south end. You kick the boards. You look angry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, man.
Absolutely.
Let's get it going. So all that to say this, a 3-1 victory for Austin. And look, don't care how you get it done. You have to have 3 here. And if you don't, then it becomes still mathematically possible, but that becomes win, 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 win in terms of the necessary results. So get one of those W's out of the way here on Saturday. We would love to see it.
With you, bro. Let's do it.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's my business day.
Little last business day here, previewing the North Texas SC match. That is Sunday, 7:45 p.m. Central up there, Choctaw Stadium in Arlington. Again, just a quick preview. We saw this team just a few, I think like a month ago at Q2, maybe even sooner than that. But this is the, again, first place team in the Western Conference in MLS Next Pro, 54 points from their 25 matches. And checking out the table, right, there has been some games since we last convened on Monday. Portland Timbers 2 get a late win. So they are up to 35 points, which is a point above us and Sporting KC2. If you'll recall, we are tied on points with SKC. But, of course, a game in hand now on Portland. So a victory here against North Texas, or even on the road, right? We close with 2 home matches. If you can get this one to PKs and be victorious there, 2 or 3 points here, I think, is enough to get you in a spot where you almost control your own destiny by beating these 2 teams at home the rest of the way. But we know that it is not going to be easy because there are a lot of first-team assets available to North Texas. Your Tarek Scotts, Herbert Ndeli, right? Amit Korcha is there, was out there last time for them. Enes Sali, right? I think last time we previewed this match, there's 7 first-team assets that have played legitimate minutes with North Texas this season. So you're not going to be favored on paper, but with everybody coming back off suspension for the first team, and even if he's not, even if he's on the team sheet for the first team, I hope CJ's making this trip too, because clearly he's healthy enough. And again, he's been playing so damn well. Anything else you have to add for last business day?
That was really my only thing, was I hope CJ's there for that, and he's able to get time with this team as well as being available for us versus Houston. So just glad he's healthy.
Oh, how much is Austin FC2 winning by on Sunday night?
You know, I respect this team, and like you said, you went down the list there of the players that they have who are of quality and everything like that. So, this Austin FC2 team has been fighting, continues to fight to try to find their way into position for the playoffs and everything. You go ahead and get the job done versus this team, well-deserved, well-earned. And like we talked about earlier with the main team before, we had some really disappointing results here. If you can close this season out by making the playoffs, you really deserve it. You really earn it. And I think that this Austin FC2 team is trending upwards in regard to the new names that are in there, how they've looked. Micah coming on, Irvin coming on, CJ looking absolutely fantastic. The play of Alonso throughout the entire course of the season, which has been stellar. So I'm going to go ahead and say that we really beat them up, and I think it's a 2-0 win.
Nice. Would love to see it. I'm going 2-2 PK shootout win.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, we get Sal back, right?
Yep.
That should help. And I would certainly take 3. 3 would be huge coming back home for the final 2 matches, but we'll be tuned in, of course, Sunday night. And that'll wrap up another episode of the North End Podcast. We'll talk best ball. We'll talk weekly picks on Sundays. We got a couple episodes to catch up, a couple weeks to catch up on in regard to the nonsense. But back on Sunday, recapping the matchup against Houston Dynamo. We'll see about the timing for the North Texas SC match, but talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We'll do the same. We'll see you at Q2 on Saturday and back here on Sunday for another episode of the North End Podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.